Hi, today we're going to do something a little different and just chit chat with me. I have several topics I want to talk about, and I've got them all lined up. But today I just wanted to do something different. I'm not quite feeling those topics, they're still bubbling in the inner world there. So they're not ready to go out. So, but I thought I still wanted to hang out and ask any questions. And so I thought I'd do a chit chat. I've got my little warm drink and I'm chilling here. You can ask any questions you want. You can put them in the comments, um, and I will answer them. In the meanwhile, I'm going to sit and hang out. I might know to say a couple of things, and but if you find me rambling and you have a question, go ahead and just put your question there. I will take it, okay? And I will zip up the rambling, and we will talk about whatever you've asked a question about. So go ahead and leave any comments, and that's okay if you don't leave any comments. It's okay if we just sit here weirdly. I'm okay with that. So I really am. So I will fill the space as needed. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. I need a little more honey, I think. Okay, I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna get my honey because that's what we're gonna do. Rachel stuff today. Rachel goes to get her honey. Um, and go ahead and post a comment, and I'll think about something to say. Okay. Ooh, I know. Let me tell you about upcoming topics. That'll be fun. In the meanwhile, um, what I was going to go live about today was what was on the list was signs your avoidant child or partner is not okay. And so I was going to run through different signs because different I have both avoidant, or I have all kinds of people with different attachment styles, but I definitely have plenty of avoidance, plenty of anxious, plenty of disorganized clients that I work with, and we're working them, moving them towards secure attachment. But it's really hard to read the signs of the avoidant child or the avoidant partner. And I get a lot of, I remember one of my teen clients who was an avoidant, and I was instantly alarmed when he came in. And I mean, I was like jaw drop. I was like, this child is not okay. And the requirements being asked of them, the questions being asked, it was just not a match for this child's nervous system. I spent the entire session educating the parents and showing signs and showing. You see how his shoulders are. You see how, like, facial expression. You see the speech. You see the this. This is a dysregulated nervous system, and we need to apply like the right um, strategies for the right brain function here. And so it was really helpful for them. They were none the wiser. This is not. This is when you're not set up like an avoidant. You can't even imagine why somebody would do what they're doing. And so I think it would be really helpful to, and things are often backwards with avoidance. And so people can miss signs and they can really think they're dealing with somebody in a regulated state and they are really dysregulated. So that's one of the topics I'm going to talk about. I kind of wanted to let that simmer a little bit more. That was what was going to happen today. All right. If you are new here, we're doing a chit chat. You can ask any questions in the comments. I'm going to read them. I'm just right now just talking about upcoming topics and which ones I didn't want to use yet, because I'm not ready. I'm letting them simmer a little bit more. One I want to do in the near future is reclaiming your body image. And this is really a fun one because when we are looking into the mirror, when we are connecting with our body, looking at our body, even feeling or touching our body, we're not really, if you've got complex PTSD, anxiety, depression, we're not really connecting with our body. We're connecting with our brain's created perception of our body, which is made up of unresolved emotions, generational patterns, past events. And it's interesting. I teach strategies to slow the whole thing down and look behind the scenes, and you can watch all this stuff going on. And in the beginning, it's so triggering. We're just regulating the nervous system a lot so that we can get to the point where we're regulated enough that we can look, right? And then it's like jaw dropping. And so, and people can really reclaim their body image and their sense of appreciation and love for their body pretty quickly when they get their brain to resolve the unresolved emotions, resolve the past events, whatever the brain is putting there. If they resolve that, then the brain gets to start dealing with the body, looking at the body, and our brain loves us. So if your brain is not loving you, there's a problem in there. And so it's a processing problem. And once that's resolved, the brain shifts into all these other awesome, very self-loving functions. So it's definitely worth doing. But also, this is how I help people resolve body dysmorphia. And it's fast, and people really begin to grow in their awareness of their body image and what the tricks their brain is. The brain is not playing tricks. It's because we're not processing. The brain doesn't know what belongs here, what doesn't. It doesn't know how to help us perceive the reality that we're currently in because it's not processing well. It's not processing what's showing up in the space. So we help the brain complete those processes. And the next thing you know, we're seeing ourselves accurately. And I have fun with this because people's self-confidence transforms dramatically. And it's just, and it's always fun to watch them take possession of their body from a positive confident place. I remember I had one client, she came in the very next session with her eyebrows waxed, like before she would not do anything with her body. And she had makeup on. She's like, I was like, yes, slay. Anyway, it was great. I had a great time with that. So I really enjoy that work. And I'm going to be putting a program together around that just to walk people through the brain work involved. And so, because sometimes with brain work, it's really simple to do, but sometimes it's nice to have another perspective in there because it's your brain making stuff for you. So it's hard to catch it, like, it's hard to step behind the scenes. And so a lot of the exercises that I have are all about helping you come behind the scenes and see this from not in the symptoms, but behind the symptoms or beside or in front of and top of, whatever, just not in there, right? This is not you. This is a brain thing. This is what your brain is doing. And so, but there's a lot of power when we can take a different position. And then we go back into being in what our brain has created. It's just so much better and higher functioning, more satisfying, enriching, and regulated. Sometimes it's slower, sometimes it's faster. I'm going to do a topic about this one. I'm like so way not ready to do. This one is a big one, and it's hard to explain. That's why it's sitting in the back burner because I don't know how I'm going to explain it yet. But it's about being in reality. One of the things for people with complex PTSD, and then some of the things that can pile up on top of it, like an anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, depression, there's such a processing challenge, and things are so distorted that it's hard to be in reality. And this work, what we're trying to do to recover from complex PTSD is be in reality. And you can tell if you're in a safe situation, but your heart is pounding and your mind is racing with limiting beliefs. There's a lot going on that has nothing to do with here in reality. And so, but I want to talk about the nuances involved with that around, I'm going to talk about delusions in that one, dissociation, the ideal. We can get stuck in the ideal and not in reality. This is a tricky one because being stuck in being in the ideal is really important for direction and dream life creation and telling the subconscious mind where we're going, where I want you to go, where I want you to take us. But we can get trapped between that and reality. So, okay, if you are stopping by, you can leave a comment if you have any questions. If you want to leave any celebrations, you can go ahead and do that. Um, oh, I'm going to do a post on becoming your own hero. I'm going to do a video on that. This is a fun thing. Brains do this naturally. I was saying earlier in this video that our brain loves us if it's processing well. If it's not, that's it. Like if we have a negative inner critic, that's a processing thing because that's not supposed to be there. I know many people have lived with it forever and they think that it's just a part of their inner world. I have a client right now who's like weirded out because their inner talk is nice. It's so she's she's calling it an autoresponder. I love that. She won't even give it a nice name. It's like a detached over there. I don't even know you like that. So it's just, why are you so nice, right? She's acclimating to how her inner voice is supposed to be, right? But our brain likes to tell the story of how amazing and awesome and heroic and capable and powerful we are. If it's not doing that, there is a processing problem. There's an extreme to that, right? With narcissism, that where the brain is doing that, but where it's not doing a reality function, right? And this is also has to do with delusions, and it's also a depression thing. It's inside out. It's grandiosity when it's running without being woven into. It's like the brain is like, I give up on processing. I still want to feel good, and I'm going to make up stories about how great I am, regardless of what reality tells me. And so, but whereas other depressive things have to do with we start believing the negative regardless. And our brain is like, I'm trying to process, I can't, and we're just must be terrible, it must be right. Right. So they're different extremes, but the same processing disorder. So yeah, that's an interesting brain function. I found quite a bit of grandiosity is definitely a family trait of mine. And as I was going through my own grandiosity things, so I'd be so embarrassed. I really tried to shut it down and avoid it. Because I would be so embarrassed when I would go in there. And it was like I was just coming out of touch with reality. And as I really started taking it apart, it was so phenomenal what it was made of. It was awesome, jaw-dropping for me. And it really was sitting over places I should have been depressed. That is phenomenal. Like, what a brain trick. You see what I'm saying? That's pretty cool. And so what you find in the inner world when you're healing these things is pretty phenomenal, what you learn about yourself. But I want you to see, I just told you how I took apart something really embarrassing and the end result was self-love. You see how that is? Like, I'm like, wow, brain, you really hooked me up with a good one. I could have been depressed laying on the couch. No, I was out here living my grandiose, delusional life in some spots, right? And so I could tell the story anyway because our brains tell stories, right? But as we're healing and we're looking in at stuff and we're seeing what our brain is doing, we're like, wow. What I walked away with, my brain will go to very extreme lengths to help me be well and to help me survive and thrive or do the best I can in situations. I like that. And all you got to do is throw it through the processor a couple more times when it's inaccurate. And all of a sudden it gets more and more accurate. So not only is it trying to help me survive and thrive and connect well and fulfillment and satisfaction, it's also can get better and better and more accurate. So I don't have to be delusional. Who knew? Right? So it's really cool what we find when we are looking into the inner world. And how we can fall in love with ourselves. That is absolutely one of the byproducts of this work. It's one of the things I'm looking for in clients, and where it's not showing up, there's just a processing thing here. So that's a sign I'm looking for when I'm not a talk therapist. So when I have clients coming in and they are talking, I'm not really listening for details. I'm listening for their relationship with themselves. I'm listening where they're at, if they're in reality, if they're in delusion, illusion land, if they're in all or nothing thinking. I want to know how distorted their thinking is, how accurate they are, if there's a negative tint, if there's stuff sometimes that sounds super old. I'm listening more to the sounds of what people say as opposed to the specific details. And so, because it's how we're relating to our life, it's how we're relating to our experiences that is, I want to see how your brain's doing with that. Are you making a good relationship with your experiences? Is your brain struggling to process those? What's going on here? So that's the stuff. That's how I've really helped people find where the small. A lot of times I will work with people that have done quite a bit of inner work, and they're just at the place where they've done so much inner work. They're at the place where they just need to bring stuff together, and they've done all these projects, but the projects aren't connecting. And so when I'm listening there, that's the stuff I'm listening for. How do we bring this together? Where's the brain struggling to bring it all together? And so that's a really cool place because it doesn't take a lot of work. It's not the same kind of work as in the beginning where you're just trying to get trying to get all this water out of the boat that you're sinking in, right? All this emotion is everywhere, clouding everything, and you're reactive and you're depressed and anxious, and that's a different place. But really, I don't do a lot of listening there. We're working. I'm not listening to anybody. This is an emergency, and we need your brain working and cooking, and we need to provide your brain with so much support. And so that's what we're doing at the beginning. But there comes a point when, especially clients, my process is really to bring it together along the way. They don't teach us this in therapy. They teach us how to do project work. They don't teach us how to bring this stuff together. And I started doing project work, and it was really fun because you get really great results. And then as I was going, I saw they still have a disorder. What's up with that? They still meet criteria. Totally unacceptable. And so I would figure, like, how do we create wellness? How do we make it so that they don't meet criteria for a mental health disorder anymore? And so I've really started figuring out more. Okay, we need to make sure they're functioning in these areas, that this depression isn't impairing function. Okay, so it's really, I started then figuring out more strategies, and then I was like, well, why don't I do this in the beginning? Oh, at the same time we're doing this. And so a lot of my strategies are to do multiple things at the same time with one exercise. And so that's what that's what we're doing. But sometimes I will get clients that want to just do 4 sessions of coaching with me one-on-one because they've done tons of work. They're not buried in emotion. They're not at the beginning. They're not in the middle. They're really at that point where it's really organized. They've been doing talk therapy for decades. They've maybe even done some EMDR therapy quite for a year. And they're just like, I should be done already, right? So we'll do some sessions and really just bring it all together. Bring it all together. So that's a cool place in the journey. But I like it when we do it all together at the same time because it saves us so much time and energy. And I feel for them. And I kind of had to do mine that way because I didn't know what I was doing, and it was just wandering around my inner world, which is good for getting to know your inner world, but I would have saved me a lot of drama as a parent and as a person to have I would have liked to do more of my parenting with a more regulated nervous system earlier in my journey. I would have liked that. Parenting with complex PTSD is no joke. So anyway, thoughts from Rachel. I'm going to get off here in 5 minutes, but if it's somebody you do want to leave a comment or a question, you can. Typically, my crowd is a silent crowd. It's been this way for years. There was a small window where people started asking me questions. We'd go back and forth and back and forth. That was cool. But most of the time, this is silent. So I'm kind of used to this. So you might be feeling embarrassed about this for me, but I'm not. This is standard. But if I do this and sit here long enough, and if I were to put a schedule together where you knew I was doing this, you might be prepared to get on and have some questions. But that level of organization has not yet arrived. So here we are. Okay, let me tell you a couple more things I'm going to do. Oh, and one of my future videos is going to be on releasing victim mentality. I'm excited about this one. I should have done this one today. I have energy for this one. This is a really important place because we feel like there's a lot of shame around victim mentality, and I just want to obliterate that. Anybody who's been a victim has to complete victim mentality. They don't have to stop being a victim. They don't have to stop victim mentality. They need to complete the process. Once someone is victimized, there's an entire set of stuff their brain has to do and complete in order to return to a state of empowerment. And so, unfortunately, we are over here stigmatizing victim mentality, and I want that to end. So I'm going to do a live about that. I'm going to move that one up. That might be my Friday topic. Okay. Oh, it was here the whole time. I just didn't see it. Oh, I saw. It wasn't. I have these are stickies, right? So I had them layered on top of each other. Okay, there's a comment. Oh, you're welcome. Tammy says, thank you for being here, Rachel. Your YouTube videos have helped me enormously. Oh, you're so welcome. I love that. I don't want us to be alone with this stuff anymore or feel like we can't heal. And I know many people with complex PTSD have a hard time. This is one of my topics that I'm not ready to do yet, but they have a hard time finding therapists that can handle their level of trauma. And I really hope to, and then there's other people that feel like, well, I have all these symptoms, but I don't really have a lot of trauma, so I don't deserve healing or treatment. And no, we all deserve it. We just have the way it shows up is very different, and we can heal, and let's do it. So I'm glad that you're benefiting. That's awesome. Okay. All right. Well, I have tons more videos coming in the future. I just went through some of my other topics. This is what my next, all my little ideas. I have more and more back here. So we'll be yakking and talking and chatting for a while. Thanks for hanging with me today, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.